In this video, I'm going to share with you again, what numbers should your business be focused on? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Claudio, owner of WinRate Consulting, host of the Big Stud podcast, and founder of a Champions Shoes nonprofit. That's how my wife and I give back. If you want to learn more, go to achampionshoes.org and you can figure out more about our mission and how to get involved. I'd love to hear from you. And then go to winrateapparel.com and buy something. And then subscribe. That's how I make money. All of those things, but not the nonprofit. But look, I'm doing this for a return on investment, which we're going to talk about today. How should you determine what money to spend or what numbers to focus on? In 2021, I've spent over $30,000 on video production for free content like this. How do I get a return on that? People indirectly come back and buy hats, buy shirts, hire us for coaching, build authority, grow the platform. I'm making $300 or $400 a month in ad revenue right now from YouTube. It's not a huge amount of money, but we're somewhere. It's grown consistently over time because we've been consistent with it. But there are 5 primary departments in a business. This is from EOS. This is from a lot of different conversations from business strategy. The 5 departments are sales, marketing, operations, production, finance. And some people say finance/HR, depending on your business type. Recruiting and employee management could be part of that. So I'm going to go by department and give you some numbers that you should, that I think are important to know, track, understand. In sales, leads, contracts, proposals, close business, average project size, close rate. I like rate of return on, like, cost per lead, right? So what is our cost per lead? If you're spending money on that'll come into marketing as well. Cost will be in marketing, but in sales, if you're understanding, how many leads are we getting? How many leads are we actually sitting down with? How many leads are we proposing? How many leads are we closing? That's 4 different numbers that you could make individual pivots in your process on to make an impact. I'm not a big tracking on like impressions. I don't track that as much. And I'm not down to like, oh my God, how many views do we get on this video? It's more like, is it growing over time, right? This month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year. Are we seeing an increase in activity, engagement, impressions, cost per lead, cost per client, right? So if you spend $100 per lead and you have a 30% close rate, well, you're spending $1,000 on 10 leads. That's $100 per lead, but that's $333 per client. Right? So cost per lead, cost per client, metrics on engagement, just general ad spend. What are we spending on advertising? I can't tell you. I'm like, what would you spend on advertising last month? I don't know. Where are you advertising? I don't know. Which ones are getting the best results? I don't know. So even if you just had we have ads on Google, ads on Facebook, ads on YouTube. How much are we spending? How many leads came from each of those? Those are numbers that you should be knowing. In operations, so the operations and the way that I like to look at it, operations is inside the office people, production is outside the office people. So in the field, in the office. Depending on your business, that might vary a little bit, but think operations is like overhead, production is more job cost type stuff, labor to produce. So operations, you could be looking at, how much time does it take to produce something or to go through a process. You could be looking at how long does it take to schedule somebody. You could see how long it takes to get somebody invoiced. You can be looking at a number of different things I think operations primarily would be like how long do certain processes take are the best numbers to track there. You could be looking at employee turnover. That could be more of an HR number as well, but employee turnover rates. Production would be an easier one. You could track callbacks, how many times you call back to a project. You can track job costs. You can track labor costs. You can track overhead expenses. You can track material used. You can track inventory. You can track mileage, time spent behind the windshield. I think this is a big one. I think windshield time is a big one that should be tracked. Like if you have guys that are driving all over town, well, how many hours per day are they spending producing revenue and how many hours per day are they not producing revenue? So I would track average revenue producing man hours per week. How can you improve that? Can you strategize around their route better? Can you strategize around their time better? Can you strategize around their activity better? Whatever that might be. Turnover, again, would be a good one here. You could look at onboarding time. How long does it take somebody to get to full production? You can be tracking quality control. How well is somebody performing a task? You can track things such as like skill development, improvement quality, late days, missed days, no call, no show days, all the things that go into running a successful team there. Financials and HR, turnover would be a good one. Profit margin, gross profit margin, net profit margin, rate of return on investments, understanding when to make investments, understanding projections, not just what has happened, what should happen, right? What is our overhead going forward? When should we make strategic investments? If we look at the last couple of years, what are our higher profit months, lower profit months? When do we need to prepare for a slower season? When do we need to prepare for a busier season? That takes years sometimes to create patterns on, but likely you're going to be in business or have been in business for years, so you should be able to track that. You can track things like how many interviews do you need to have to get a quality candidate? What's the retention rate? What's turnover rate? What's general qualifying rate? On the finance side, overhead expenses, overhead daily run rate, average hourly rate, hours spent producing revenue, hours spent not producing revenue, advertising budget, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different numbers there. But what I would suggest doing for you is pick each of those 5 categories: sales, marketing, operations, productions, finance, HR, and create 5 metrics each that that if you had the information that you could make a strategic adjustment to move your business in the right direction. Because I just named off 30 to 50 different numbers that you could be tracking. You're like, holy shit, Mike, there's no way. No, there's no way. So on sales, pick 5. On marketing, if you're like, well, I don't have any. Okay, start with something. How many leads are we getting? What are we paying for that? Well, I don't have that. Okay, then maybe that's a lower number. Maybe you don't need as 5 metrics there. Maybe you just need 1 or 2. Operations, certain things. Production, certain things. Finance, HR, certain things. Sales, certain things. But look at your business. 5 categories. Sit down with your team. If you don't have a team, man, don't worry about this. Worry about hiring some people. Start there. If you have a team, sit down with them and say, okay, where do we feel like where's our biggest weakness? Where's our biggest opportunity? Where's our biggest threat? What are our strengths? Let's figure out what metrics we need to track, because ultimately, until you can start tracking, you can't make improvements that are actually working. So that is a really convoluted way to explain this, because it's hard. This is hard to figure out on your own. This is why having a coach is so incredibly important. I will tell you, we have a few of the coaches on the team right now that are financial gurus. We have people that are marketing experts. We have sales experts. We have leadership experts. We help people figure out what metrics and numbers they need to know in each of those categories, each of those departments, to intentionally and knowledgeably move their business in the right direction. Because most times it's just I just didn't know what I didn't know, and now I feel more comfortable because now I know what's going on inside my business. But please, hire outside help on this. Hire somebody who has done this already. They will shorten that failure gap. They will help you implement this so much faster. Is this a self-pitch? Yes. WinRate Consulting is one of the best at what we do in helping construction companies implement strategies like knowing the numbers. Are we the only one out there? Absolutely not. But hire somebody. Bring somebody in who's done this before to help you figure that out. Because there are individual metrics in each of those departments that create very big impact by knowing them and being able to make adjustments to them. But there are going to be nuances to what numbers make the most sense for each business. It's not the same across the board. So what works for you may not work for somebody else. What works for somebody else may not work for you. So bringing somebody in who can help you figure that out is 100% the best strategy. Look, I want to help you. Go to winrateconsulting.com, look into us. Check out the Instagram account, research the other coaches on the team, figure out if we're a good fit for you. We can figure out if you're a good fit for us, and then let's get to work. I rarely pitch myself on this channel, but I know for a fact we have helped contractors and business owners change their lives, change their financial situation, change their enjoyment of running their business by helping them understand strategies like this, because we want to help you win fast and win often.